Hello. In my recent seminar in university, I built this chestnut animal from photo scans I took myself with an iPad and Polycam. And in this little video I want to talk about how I created it and my general workflow. So get strapped in and let's go. First task was to import the photo scans into Blender and isolate the part which I want to use and delete the part I don't want to use. In order to do that, I did go to an orthographic view and select the vertices I didn't want to use and delete them. The next step was to close the remaining holes in the mesh by selecting the vertices around the hole and merge them into the center. In the end of our cleaning process, we end up with a bunch of meshes. These are mainly things I found on the sidewalk, some chestnuts, mushroom, acorns and some sticks. And I hope to build these into a funny little animal. The next step in my process was to build a concept or a prototype of the animal I wanted to create. I used the parts I got from the scan and duplicated it and played around with it, scaled it and tried to find a shape or a character that I like. And this is the first milestone, the finished rough concept, where I can start to build my final character from. After the concept was finished, the next step was to clean up the separate parts of the chestnut animal. In order to do that, I imported the meshes into ZBrush as an OBJ and exported the image textures which came with the scans and applied them into our imported mesh in ZBrush. After that, I duplicated it and ran a Z-remesher over it to give me a decent topology and applied the image texture as polypaint so that I can project the details and the texture from one mesh to the next mesh. After the texture was projected, I used the smooth brush to smooth out some areas that wasn't captured quite well or some white spots, like in this example at the bottom of the mesh. Now it was time to export this mesh into Substance Painter and create the rest of the maps for our final 3D object. In order to do that, I unwrapped the mesh or the newly created low poly, which we have now in ZBrush, and with a UV master, and exported just the color map into Adobe Substance Paint. In addition to the low poly, I exported the original scan into Substance Painter to use it to bake the normal map, the height map, and several other maps, and use it as a start for our texturing process. And after the baking is done, we can use this program to adjust the several maps of our newly created object to give it a nice texture and enhance some of the cracks or surface areas of the original skin. Here we see our second milestone where the several parts of the chestnut animal are cleaned up and ready for further use. Now we face the problem that each part of our newly created mesh has a known material, and if we want to combine them into one object, we have an object with several materials and several texture maps. And in order to solve that, we try to bake the several texture maps into one material with one texture map, and we're using Blender's own baking system to do it. Here we are, our final character with one texture map and mirrored legs and arms. In the end, I wanted to show you the rig I built for this character. I based this off the course of effective rigging from P2 Design Academy. And this rig has a torso control, a hip control, IK and FK switches in arms and legs, and several additional controllers. For example, individual control of the leaves on his back, and individual controller for the mushrooms, and for the little branches which are part of his arms and his shins. Furthermore, he has some additional controllers, for example, on his end of his hands for making a fist, and on his back for spreading his leaf when he jumps, and on his chest and on his knees, for example, for individual tweaking while rigging or animating. And yeah, now you can see me playing around with this character, posing him a little bit and demonstrating how this rig works and how this character moves. Yeah, this was my little documentation of my process. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.